Hi guys, welcome back to LEXSMART Media, where we dive into the strategies, stories, and tools that help you grow in business, tech, and life. I'm your host, LEXSMART, and today we're talking about something very powerful, the entrepreneur mindset, and the fact that you have to have a certain entrepreneur mindset in order to grow in business. What is an entrepreneur mindset? An entrepreneur mindset is more than just you thinking of business. An entrepreneur mindset, first of all, is a mindset that's able to see challenges as opportunities. I think one of the biggest things in our environment, well, before we even get to that, I think it's important for us to step back a little bit because everything arises from who we are, our identity, and our passion, our interest, and what we feel like is our purpose. I think it's important to have a firm identity, to have a sense of who you are and what your mission is in life. And to give you an example, when I was growing up as a teen, I was blind to the world itself. I was blind to who I am. I was blind as to what my purpose is in life. And I was just living according to my environment and according to what I perceived and what I was taught since birth. And so one of the main, I would say, event in my life is the point where I actually started searching, like soul searching. And I started asking questions as to who I am, what my purpose is in life, and where should I go in life. And my inquiries led me to, first of all, begin the journey in the philosophy of the self, whereby I studied different philosophies in terms of history of our ancestors from slavery up to today. You know, I studied the Marcus Garvey's, the Malcolm X, the W.E.B. Du Bois, and so on and so on. But I went further than that, and I started studying the antiquities. I started by studying the Egyptian philosophy, or the Kemetic philosophy. I studied the Greek and the Roman philosophy, of course, which derived from the Kemetic philosophy. Studying the Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism as well, because all those philosophies are philosophies that are dealing with the self. Because at this point, I had a lot of questions unanswered that the Bible couldn't answer, and the Christian philosophy couldn't answer. So I had to dive deeper and study every philosophy that was known, and to see how I can relate it to myself. And I think it's a very important step in life, not just for young people, but for anyone who questions their purpose, questions their existence, and questions their identity. I think it's important to study the philosophy of the self, which led me to a world of knowledge, which helped me to build my character, which helped me to build my mind. I studied the 7 arts. I studied the 13 jewels of transforming the mind. I studied the Hermetic principles, or the universal principles, just everything that could relate to the inner universe of self. And so that was a very essential path in life, and I think it opened my eyes to a whole lot in knowing the truth of my existence. I think it's a very important step, especially for young people, because nowadays there is no rite of passage. There is no way for young people to be oriented into a sense of identity and knowing the truth of their existence. There's no one to teach young people today how to build a vision for themselves based on spiritual purpose, based on mental capacity, based on the overall evolution of life. I think it's important that we go through these steps in order to gain a firm identity of who we are. That's another podcast, so we'll get into that another time. But for now, let's get back to the business mindset or the entrepreneur mindset that we need in terms of business growth. Getting back to the entrepreneur mindset. First of all, the entrepreneur mindset entails that you see challenges as opportunities. Now, oftentimes, obstacles present themselves, roadblocks present themselves, just events in life presents themselves in a way that perhaps we question ourselves and question our methods. I think it's essential in order to have a business mindset that everything you see in life is an opportunity. Everything you see in life is a lesson that you're supposed to learn, and out of that lesson there comes growth, there comes opportunity. So the first thing in being or in having an entrepreneur mindset is being able to see challenges as opportunities. Okay, the other thing in having the entrepreneur mindset is being able to take initiative and take ownership. It's very important because imagine you're in a room of people, or let me say this. Imagine you're in a boat full of people, and the boat is at the point of sinking. Will you get scared? Will you go into a frenzy like everyone else? Or will you take an initiative in order to save yourself and perhaps everyone else? There has to be someone who thinks putting on a life safety jacket. There has to be someone who can make an emergency call, or someone to fire off a flare to signal an emergency. But there has to be someone who takes initiative and takes ownership of the situation to help get themselves and everyone out of it. It's that way in everything in life. You will never gain any results if you're never willing to take initiative and take ownership of the situation. It may not be your fault. It may be someone else's fault. But the fact that you take ownership, you feel like there's something that you can do about it, you take initiative, you will see certain results based on the initiative that you take. So it's important in business, or to have that entrepreneur mindset, you have to take ownership of everything, especially in the business arena, where everything you do, every initiative you take, you cannot just delegate to someone else or say that someone else is going to do this or that. No, you have to take ownership. You have to make sure that it gets done. And you have to do your part into getting it done. I think it's a very important part of the process. Okay, now the third thing in defining an entrepreneurial mindset is that an entrepreneurial mindset is learning from failure and staying adaptable. I think in business and everything else, change is gonna come. Failure is gonna come. And so whatever events that come about, you have to adapt. In business growth especially, you have to adapt. You have to adapt to new technology. You have to adapt to the market itself. And whatever changes that need to be made, you have to adapt in order to sustain the business and continue to grow. So now that we know what the entrepreneurial mindset is, our number 2 point is knowing why mindset matters more than resources. Let's dive in. You often hear about how someone made it out of nothing, how someone who had nothing, had no money, no resources, but only had a dream, an idea that sparked into his or her mind, and that idea took shape and became something really incredible. The idea itself can turn into a plan. The plan can be pitched and proposed to different people, institutions, and that idea can bring a lot of other resources together to bring forth or to manifest the idea. So in business, I think a lot of people who are reluctant to start a business, it's always about resources. But I think it's important to know that having an idea, having a mindset is much, much more important than having the resources. Imagine a lot of people who do have resources but still are not excelling. They're not using their resources to grow because they don't have any ideas, they don't have any plans, which is essential into taking your business off the ground. Now, the second point, and why mindset is more important than resources, is the importance of curiosity, resilience, and continuous learning in business. Your curiosity will lead you to seeing things or discovering things that perhaps other people are not seeing. We all can't do the same business. We all can't excel the same way. We all don't have the same talents. We all are not passionate about the same things. In business, it's important that we have that curiosity, and when we see certain things, we follow up and we try to learn more about it. So our third point in this series is how to develop that mindset. So we've defined what it is to have an entrepreneurial mindset. We've defined the importance of the mindset itself in regards to having resources. Our third point is how to develop that mindset. We want to develop habits that will put us in that entrepreneurial mindset. So one of these habits is reading. At a certain time, for me, it was the door that actually opened everything to discovering more about myself and the world around me. Well, books were the primary access to information. I mean, I've read thousands of books. So those books actually shape my state of mind and who I am today and my way of thinking. I started making the analogy that books are like bricks. And with these books or bricks, you can build whatever you want. You know, you can build the best mansion, the best palace that you want. This just shows the importance of reading. It was through books that I discovered so much, where I begun my journey into self-discovery and self-knowledge. Not only books on self-help and books on the philosophy of the self, but books on business philosophy. I read so much in terms of economics and business, just different methods of critical thinking in business, methods for decision making. I mean, so much, but reading itself is a habit that everyone should have. Now, I know that today, a lot of people don't have time for books, but even on your phone or tablet, PC, whatever, you can get into the habits of reading. For those of you who don't have that habit, try to get into the habit of reading, even if it's something that interests you on the news or anything that you've come across online, any ebooks or anything. Just choose a book that you like, and every day try to read at least one page to get started, because books are tremendous elevation when it comes to your mind, when it comes to just having information to actually execute some of the ideas that you have. So definitely get into reading. Now, the second thing is having a journal that you can write and express yourself. Just reflect on some of the experiences and ideas that came throughout the day or throughout the week. I started writing a journal at around the age of 18, and I think it was the greatest thing for me. It helped me to learn how to process my thoughts, learn how to express my ideas and the things that I was learning at the time. Because every new discovery I wrote it down, and it actually helped to absorb that knowledge even better. Journal is a good thing to have, just to reflect, just to jot down your ideas. I got journals full of business ideas, things that I haven't actually executed yet, but I know at any point of time I can execute these ideas. But if I never wrote them down, I wouldn't have any reference to go to, and I can always go back and reflect on them. Now, the second thing to help you develop the entrepreneur mindset is to actually surround yourself with a growth-oriented community. Your entourage, your network, the mentors that you have in your life, just people you interact with on a daily basis is very important, because they actually help to mold your mindset, your frame of mind, and how you function. Having a network of people that you can reach out to who not only have experience in business and who's in a good position to actually guide you into whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Even if you don't have mentors or anyone in your immediate circle, you can always reach out to people across the different social media. Well, LinkedIn has a network of professionals who can give you a lot of insight into just about anything that you want to accomplish. So maintain a network of people who can help you when it comes to guidance, when it comes to actually molding you into becoming business oriented. Your entourage is something that's very important. It can help you to succeed, and at the same time, your entourage can help you to fail. But you have to surround yourself with people who can help you develop that entrepreneurial mindset and get you on the right path to success. Now, the third aspect of developing the entrepreneurial mindset is to actually practice decision making and critical thinking. Once you get into business, you'll know exactly what that's all about. When you go to school for economics, they teach you all these methods of decision making and critical thinking, and they're so essential in life. You have to deduce certain things to find out what is the best approach based on your resources, based on what you have now. What's the best approach in this situation that I'm in? And the only way you can do so is actually to have practice these decision-making methods and to have a critical thinking mind. There's a way for you to process everything that comes to you, and out of it to find out what's the best decision to make. Knowing how to process all the information that you have in hand is so important. Make it a daily practice. The smallest things that you're doing, even if it's just going somewhere, just take some time to process it. What's the best method to get there? What's the best method to get it done based on the information that you have, so that you make the best decision that'll give you your desired outcome. The fourth point in developing the entrepreneurial mindset is actually connecting mindset with action. Yes, you have ideas, you have plans, you have brilliant visions that you want to accomplish, but if you never take action, nothing will get accomplished. So taking initiative, it's not only planning and having the ideas, but what initiatives do you take? Once you have an idea, you have to turn that idea into a plan. Once you have a plan, you have to learn what's the best way to execute this plan and actually begin executing it. So it's important to always have a call to action, no matter what you're doing, no matter at what stage you're in. Always have a plan of action. Another point is also being able to turn ideas into small experiments, because some ideas are not, you don't have to have a grand opening or just a grand execution. No, you start small. I always remind people that no matter what you're doing, you always want to start small. You always want to start with what you have and where you are. And it's very important, because a lot of people they'll become discouraged because they don't have everything in hand. They don't have all the resources in hand in order to execute their ideas. But your ideas can be small. They can be the smallest ideas that you just start without having anything, especially online now. As long as you got access to internet and a cell phone, there's a whole lot that you can do without actually having much resources. And so always remember to start small, and eventually you can grow into whatever it is that you want to do. And to go along with that, you have to remember there's no such thing as perfection. You have to be okay with initiatives that are not perfect. You just want to start. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to be in a position where you're actually taking action, which you know that you've initiated. And from there, you go step by step to see how you can leverage the resources at hand in order to grow your business. And another thing to remember, being an entrepreneur, it means that you take an idea, you make progress out of that idea. You just don't start something, leave it, and go to something else, because that's not what being an entrepreneur is all about. You have to take an idea and actually make progress into developing that idea and manifesting that idea. Yeah, of course, you can do several things at the same time, but you have to find out what works for you. Once you find something that works for you, it's just about making progress in what it is that you feel like is working for you, or where you feel like your interest and talent lies at. So always remember progress over movement, over just multitasking and doing everything at once. So this is the end of our podcast. Some closing thoughts, guys. You don't need to have it all figured out to get started. You just need the mindset to grow. That's what separates those who dream from those who build. So if this episode gave you value, subscribe and share it with a friend. Don't forget to follow LEXSMART Media on YouTube and other social medias for content that inspires and that empowers. See you next time.